collection agency, of course, that specializes in municipal collections. They do a lot of stuff with school districts, a few municipalities in Delco, Chester County, Montgomery County. Everything's comparable. One thing that we were able to negotiate with this particular company is that all of the advertising for informing the public of the change, they will incur that cost. The borough won't have to incur that cost. But again, for council's consideration, this was something that had been talked about last year and it came back up again this year. I would recommend that we go with E-Collect to be the borough's new delinquent trash and sewer collection agency moving forward. They do have a transition plan that they will put in place so that everything is seamless, and they will work hand in hand with my office to ensure that, you know, nothing falls between the cracks.
So could you ask for the motion?
Well, I ask for a motion for council to consider to terminate the service of Portnoy law firm as our current delinquent sewer and trash tax collector and appoint E-Collect to replace them.
So moved. Second.
Moved and properly second. Any questions?
Yes, I have questions. Is there a cost savings?
The cost is, no, it's the same actually, Counselor. One thing that will happen in customer service is a little better, a whole lot better in my opinion, for the residents. One complaint that we constantly get here at Borough Hall is when you go to engage with Portnoy, that they are overly aggressive and that they, I guess with the payment plans, they're not as flexible as other tax collectors are. This tax collector is more flexible, and again, their customer service is better.
How does this affect people who are currently on the payment plan?
So in the transition, if they are currently on a payment plan with E-Collect, they will stay with E-Collect until, you know, they fulfill their obligation. But if they didn't, I'm sorry, Portnoy.
Okay.
And I will read this one thing that they said that they could do, the option that, and this just came today, I apologize that I didn't get it out to everyone. They said, one thing that we've done in other municipalities, we found that offers a 30-day amnesty program where penalties, interests are waived if you pay in full within 30 days, has rendered very great collection rates, and it allows us to swiftly move things over from the other tax collectors. So that is something that they will offer.
Okay, and will there be an online payment option? Is that why they're E-Collect?
Yes, they do have an online payment option as well.
Will we be moving,
Portnoy does not currently have an online.
will we be moving to online payment options for all of our collections?
We currently have an online option for our real estate taxes, and we are in the process of building out something in the background for our permits and everything else. Councilor Rocloud, I do want to note for the record, I argue the same thing about the timesheet piece, the time leave request forms, because we went live with paychecks in the fall, and I can tell you the employees that report to me, they do use the app, and they request electronically, but, you know, we have to get everybody with the times.
And
That starts at the top, management, correct?
Yes.
It shouldn't be a choice.
The people that report to me, yeah, the people that report to me, they don't, yeah.
And then, I know that you said that you have to leave, but I know the next vote, I'd like to know if you review these fees and you recommend them as well.
Oh, I do,
So I
yes.
meant the fees for the next, the list that hasn't been mentioned yet, but I know this is the next one. But if
Oh,
you
the
wanna be
fees for the hall
The fee for
rental?
the hall rental.
I did review these fees for the hall rental. I'll be quite honest with you right now. We have great concerns with the hall rental right now. The borough's not profiting at all. I believe, this is my personal opinion, that people outside of the borough are coming and taking advantage of borough hall right now.
Okay, and then I would also like to propose that, you know, that council doesn't grab the use of the borough hall for their own personal needs either. But, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question, Mr. Nichols.
Yes.
The tax problem that, that has came up today. So that was a tax problem, tax issue that we had last year. And wasn't that the reason why we spent $10,000 hiring, given the $10,000 donation to the tax collector in Darby to train the other tax collector and to clean up all of her mistakes dealing with the taxpayers, the errors with that?
This particular one is a little different than that situation,
Can
because
you
that was
explain the
that was
difference?
related to real estate tax. This is solely related to sewer and trash.
Thank you.
I have a question, just for clarification. Was the number 450 hours or just 60 hours?
It was approximately 60 errors. 450 were turned over to them for delinquent taxes.
But the hours, it was only 60 hours,
Correct.
Yeah.
Approximately.
approximately, but not 450.
No.
450 were affected.
No,
They were
for-
sent to the tax, to Portnoy collection, and they summarily sent letters warning residents that they were in default.
You said 450.
450 is the total list, yes
That's
ma'am,
not what you
that was sent. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
So it's not
450.
Could you explain that again?
No, we
Maybe
don't
she
need to
doesn't
go
understand- maybe she doesn't
It was only
understand
60
English.
that were sent in error.
No, it wasn't. That is not true.
He
That
just
is not true.
No,
He just said it.
Mr. Nichols, how many were sent in?
Was you
error?
one of the people that received the letter?
Annually.
It should be
Annually.
over 60. We shouldn't be.
Annually, what happens, December 31st is the cutoff date for anyone to completely pay their trash bill, their sewer bill, or their real estate. If you do not pay by the 31st, the tax collector prepares a delinquent report. One report goes to the county for real estate tax. The other two go to whoever the borough decides that they want to collect their sewer and trash. The total amount that went over to the sewer and trash reported off was 450. In that 450, there were approximately 60 errors in which there were corrections made, and those what we call strike off the list.
Should have.
Thank you.
Should have never
And
Should
can
have
I-
never happened.
Yeah, it absolutely should have never happened. I also would like to, just for the benefit of the public who may not know, the tax collector is an elected position. So sometimes, if someone is elected and they don't know how to manage that system, we needed to hire someone to supplement their services. So what Councilor Tamika Jones Waters brought up was.
Guess what? You shouldn't run for the office if you don't know
Don't
how to
argue,
do your
don't have to
job.
argue.
She got the
You
floor.
shouldn't run for office if you don't know how to do it.
So what
You don't have to
Councilor,
argue.
I wasn't the tax collector, by the way. So what Councilor Tamika Jones Waters is
Oh,
talking
thank you. You
about
say my name so lovely. Thank you.
is that when the tax collector was having difficulty, we did have to supplement those services with someone to assist. There were a series of illnesses and just not really knowing how to,
$10,000 really?
not really understanding how to do the job. So in order for us to try to save our residents from
And it still was errors.
More mistakes.
I'm sorry.
From the mistakes, we did hire someone to supplement those
And
services.
she's still in.
Just a
It's
minute.
not fair it's not fair to
Well-
talk about someone who's not here to defend
She still did
themselves.
not get it.
Okay.
It's
No,
not
say
fair.
that to the
That's
60
president.
residents
It's
that
not
was
fair.
in
Can I be
error.
recognized?
And
Say that to them.
Okay, Councilor, yes, Councilor Brooks has the floor. Councilor Brooks.
Okay,
No remorse.
so I would like to make a motion that we get our packages, paperwork a week before, or at least 3-4 days before the meeting, because it's not fair that you can't go over everything in a short period of time, especially to the people that work 9 to 5 or 9 to 11.
Let me just clarify.
I'm just asking, can we get it ahead of time?
Counselor, that has been
I would second that motion after we take the vote. for this.
Counselor, the workshop is 2 weeks before the meeting. These packets come to you right after the workshop. That's how they were set up in January, yes. And they're delivered at your house. Because the workshop was canceled, it was sent yesterday. We feverishly got them together yesterday for today's meeting. It has not been that in 5 months. Okay, we don't need a motion for that, that's already the system.
Okay, so we're gonna have those back.
You'll have them 2 weeks ahead of time. Okay, all right.
Sorry, 2 weeks.
The first Monday is a workshop. First Monday is a workshop. After that workshop meeting and all of the reports from the highway department, from the code department, from the police department, those reports are submitted at that meeting. You get the packet right after that process, so that you have 2 weeks. The whole idea, but the whole idea,
It also doesn't happen, Mr. Nichols explained it couldn't happen because the bills
you have to
don't
wait
come
on
in
the
at the
reports to come
next
in.
week. So the bills don't come in that first week, so we can't get them 2 weeks in advance.
He addressed that.
He already
Not a
addressed
day
it.
after before.
Okay.
This was because we canceled that
That's why we
meeting.
should, should we cancel?
Okay, because that's why. Okay. All right, legislative, consideration, under new business, consideration for council to approve, the borough, you want to wait on that, the borough hall rental?
Can I ask to be recognized?
Okay.
Can I ask to be recognized?
Yes.
We didn't take the vote on E-Collect.
Oh, we did, you're right. It was second. All in favor?
I approve.
Okay, is it unanimous?
I approve.
The vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
For Ecolab. Thank you. Thank you, Council. We need to approve the minutes.
No,
You need to do the
Oh,
home rental contract?
Are you gonna, was there some reservation about? There's
Mr.
not.
Northeast Nichols
He
cleared
said
up.
okay.
He cleared it.
Okay, so the consideration with regards to the council to approve the updated borough hall rentals contract. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second.
I have a question, Joe.
Moved and properly second. Are there any questions?
So, why is it a different price, for repasses?
Why is there
Opposed to
opposed to?
the regular rentals?
Because repasses don't require the same type of use of the hall that traditional use of the hall does, except the last time we did have a repass, and I think we were a little snookered. So people came in, it was a repass, there was death in the family, but they ended up starting with gospel music. After a little while, it turned into the ethnic group. The ethnic group was African origin, and their celebration was a little bit different. So we tightened up so it wouldn't happen again. We have our non-resident, we have our repass residents are $1,000, and non-residents are $1,200, and you have to have a $500 deposit. You have to have a deposit because if we use Public Works to clean up the hall, that's time and a half on a Saturday and double time on a Sunday. So we try to schedule it on Friday, and if it's people have to clean up. If they don't clean up, they don't get the deposit. If it's on a Saturday and they do not clean up, they do not get their deposit. We have a sheet that shows everything that needs to be done, how the borough hall looked before you rented it, and how it looks after you're finished. If you don't adhere to any part of our contract, you do not get your deposit back. No one, not nonprofits, it used to be the nonprofits, put a deposit down and that was it, they got their money back. No one used the borough hall without paying. No one used the borough hall without paying. That's the difference between the former contract and this contract.
Okay, I have
Yes,
I'd like to point out that there's no definition of repass in here. So I feel like it's kind of lacking if we're gonna define different categories but not have what the definition is. So I get it that what we're expecting is a quick sit-down luncheon after a funeral and not a party, but if it's not defined here, then we don't have any,
Yeah. And I think the same, a similar observation for the 501c3s.
so I understand.
They're
that we-
taking advantage.
So I understand like why, there would be a reduced rate for a repast, because usually funerals are, unplanned. So I think that we need to, and it could be a hardship for people to come up with immediately to get their families together. But I think that we need to make sure we identify and have a special list if we're going to define what repast is. Because someone could say, a year later that they're having a memorial service for someone and call it repast.
No, you can't.
So, but what I'm saying is that this doesn't define.
You be
it.
specific.
If someone just says, I'm having a repast because someone died, they sign a contract for that, and then they have a big memorial service or whatever, I think that those things should be a little more clearly defined than, I'm okay with the actual fees, but I think the definitions need to exist.
I think, Madam Counselor, that we will make those adjustments, and that was a great suggestion. Are there others?
Yeah,
I think-
can you tell me,
Go,
how much are the 501c3s paid?
501c3s are
$500.
I think that should be raised.
It does need to be raised.
501, they pay $500 as a deposit and $500 to use the hall. That's $1,000. Traditionally, nonprofits don't.
Oh, that doesn't look like.
You should
Should-
say it on here.
Traditionally, nonprofits don't have money, and they depend on donations. The Borough Hall was never intended to make a profit. The purpose of the Borough Hall was for community use. Now we've turned it into a profit-making venture. Just the way we talked about refurbishing the stage so we can have plays. Just the way we talked about doing the floors over so the kids can have dances. That was the original intent of the auditorium. So I am more than willing to do what the council needs me to do. Any suggestions you'd like to have me make in the contract, I will do for definition purposes.
So
Just
you say that the resident nonprofit 501c3,
is
It's
$500.
so the non-resident would be how much?
It doesn't delineate between a resident and non-resident nonprofit.
I know, yeah. You didn't put the non-resident nonprofit, so how?
We don't rent the Borough Hall who are not, we don't lease it to people who don't live in the borough.
Okay.
If you're a 501c3.
Okay, I got you.
So then it should identify that the nonprofit rate is for residents only. And does that mean that the resident has to live in the borough, or that the nonprofit has to exist in the borough?
The nonprofit, whoever comes up to fill the application, has to be a resident of the borough.
But do they have to own the nonprofit?
They don't.
What if the Red Cross wants to do a blood drive?
If the Red Cross came and do a blood drive, it's a nonprofit.
But
They're not
do they-
residents, they're
I said,
not-
do they have to be?
Yes.
A Yeadon resident has to come up to allow the Red Cross to have a blood drive?
I'll give you that.
They may not charge
All
anything.
those tables and
The
the
Red
Cross,
Cross
so we
never
can
has
have everything,
They've never, yeah,
Okay.
they've never.
right, properly written out, so let's just take it.
And I don't, so, Ms. Brooks, the way you would do that is to ask for a motion to table.
But wait a minute, I have
Thank you,
another question
Councilwoman.
before you do that.
No
So,
motion to table.
What? You,
Wait a minute.
Oh, check, because they're trying to rent it out this week. If
But
you
this
table it to the
contract
next
is not,
month.
it's not, if we got the contract before
but
last
it's
month, we might be able to do this
Go
for today.
over here.
I'm sorry.
But, okay, so
Hopefully,
just
it's
for
clarified.
just for some clarity, so, from my understanding, how it always was anyway, like you said, nonprofit is free. Okay, the 501c3 organizations were using the facilities for free. Okay, so my understanding was if they're having a party or something, versus having some kind of community event. So having a community event, I thought was free. having some kind of party in the name of similar to a fundraiser or something like that, then they be charged this. So am I right or wrong?
I think that your question is correct. The problem that we're running into is that everything is going up, supplies to clean the borough, people to do this, people to do that. We have no way to recoup it. It's not free. Somebody has to clean the floor. Somebody has to clean the restrooms. Somebody has to do it. Otherwise, I did it the other night. You can't have, we can't have free anymore because everything costs. Somebody asked me today, can we use it for seniors at a place for seniors? They didn't ask me, they asked me indirectly. And I wanted to say yes until I determined who's going to pay for it. How are we going to clean it?
I have a legal question. So you said we don't rent the hall to 501c3 outside 501c3s. I don't see how we can legally prohibit, I don't see how we can legally prohibit renting out to outside 501c3s, but yet still we rent to outside organizations and non-residents.
I'll ask Mr. Bond, I'll ask Mr. Bond to entertain that question. The question
We
is,
should just change the rate.
It's a management decision.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't believe.
Or change the
I
language.
don't understand. You can't agree.
We agree.
Well, if this gets moved, I think from talking to President Harris, the person that's running it next week is a private resident of Yeadon that's doing a graduation. So if we wanted to, we could use this contract. This is not implicated in any way. That's what we all agreed that borough residents should pay. You said it was a reasonable fee. We can use that for them, and then we can rewrite this contract with all of councilors' input, and I'll work with you, Isaac.
Thanks.
We'll
So
take
is
that.
the actual graduation was a graduation party?
There was a,
It does. I think it would matter. If a principal wanted to rent it to do a graduation, they could rent it. It doesn't matter whether it's a party
So
or
would
actual
that then
graduation.
be the $17.95 or would be the $1,500?
It depends on what day, and it depends on whether they're a resident or
Will
not.
it be the
Yes. Unless council says, we came up this because we were losing money. If council decides that they want to mix it up for residents and for special groups, Red Cross, Blue Cross, whatever, it is your decision. This is because we're using the Borough Hall and we're losing money.
And we can revisit it.
Yes. Okay.
But again, it goes back to what I said earlier. If all council was involved in this process, we would have been able to get through it much easier this evening.
Well, they weren't involved.
Well, nobody knows.
okay, excuse me.
They weren't.
Okay, we're gonna move on. I want to hear from the engineer. We're gonna bring it up.
Please.
I want the engineer to report.
So vote on
If we
please.
move in second, she has to make the
Yes.
Oh, okay. All in favor, would you indicate by raising your hand?
So what is it that
We're
you're?
voting
For.
I think we have to
What about the changes?
You all make the change.
They're gonna change it.
And we're gonna revisit it.
He's gonna coordinate with the council.
We
Okay?
have four votes in the affirmative. We have 5 votes in the affirmative.
I oppose.
Thank you.
No, there are
Thank
changes
you.
that need to be made.
We'll make it in
The motion has been moved and approved. Properly moved. Thank you.
Motion carries.
All of that discussion, all of the mistakes, and they still
Okay.
We have a
Okay, the engineer is gonna, yes. Oh, for the block party. The block party. Mr. Williams, I know. Mr. Williams, I just want to, Mr. Williams has circulated his petition of his block on Rockland, and he wants to have a block party on 6/4/2022. So it's, pardon me? Yeah, he's, type of event, first birthday party
It was granddaughter.
for a granddaughter, a little person. And,
I can help you with that.
can you please?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Williams came up to the Borough Hall requesting a block party. I drove around to his particular block between Longacre and Rockland. I spoke to our lieutenant, and we agreed that we could use, it was okay to use that particular intersection. I relayed that information to Mr. Williams, and I told him at this particular meeting, we would have a motion to hopefully approve his use of the block party. On his particular street, all the houses, this is not Longacre, because the back of the houses face Rockland. There are no fronts on Rockland. The traffic is nice and controlled, although I did get a complaint today about speeding down Rockland. But in this particular case, it was discussed with the resident. I'm asking, and Council President, you're right on point in terms of making a motion. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
It says that permits are supposed to be submitted 30 days prior to the event.
Right.
Okay, so we submitted prior to the event.
Yes, yes.
That was my only question.
Yes.
So, normally our police department goes out and does an assessment of the area and let us know what they're going to handle with the streets being closed and everything, and come back with a recommendation so that council isn't deciding whether residents can or can't have, events. It kind of,
But he said he took the lieutenant out with him.
So what I'm saying is that typically these come as a recommendation from that the council isn't approving or denying it, that the police department is letting us know. We encountered a similar situation with like handicap parking applications, because it gets a little muddy when you put everyone in the mix of deciding whether they can do this. This is a departmental issue, not necessarily a council issue. So this should have come as a recommendation to us, not for us to just come and vote as to whether something.
It's not necessary, that's not necessarily so.
And then my other question would be,
That's not
how many
necessarily
residents
so.
are on the block? Because how many residents are on the block?
There's only 3 houses there.
All right.
Okay, may I have a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Are there any further discussions or questions?
So yes, is the third house, is that actually Mr. Williams' house?
Mr. Williams' home is the very first house on the street.
Okay, so I would just ask that Mr. Williams add his name to the petition.
Well, can we go and add a name?
I'm just saying as a signer, because what it says here is 75%, and 2 out of 3 is just 66%. So I just want to make sure that we do things above board. But I can see how it is. And
Okay,
then you would have 100%.
Okay, the motion, yes, all in favor, which indicate by raising your hand. I am.
Ms. Brooks, are you?
Yes,
Are you-
yes.
yes.
The vote is unanimous. Councilor Monroe, did you vote?
Yes, I said yes.
Okay, so it's approved.
Thank you.
The vote is unanimous. Thank you. Did you vote? Oh, yes, you did. Yes. Take it off. Okay. All right. Approval of the minutes, I need, before you guys leave, can we get a motion to approve the minutes for April 1st, April 4th, and April 6th? Are there any questions? Second. Are there any questions?
I have a question. I was not provided with the actual minutes, so I was unable to review saying.
Yeah, that was my question. I think that, no, I don't have a copy of the minutes. And neither does,
Okay, the engineer is standing here.
so wait, there's,
Yes.
something was moved and seconded.
It was moved and
Now we're on the
seconded for the
discussion.
minutes.
And
Now
the
we're on
discussion is that
minutes.
The discussion is that we don't have a copy of the minutes. My other question would be, the former minutes that were approved, when will they be placed on the website? Because we have about 5 or 6 sets that are still missing from the website, right, Ms. Lee? So we said, and then we haven't had the opportunity to review any of these 1, 2, 3 minutes because they were missing from my work. They weren't in my packet either. Did anyone else get them?
Those minutes, they are,
They were supposed to be in the packet.
okay.
I'll make sure.
Make sure you know. Okay, well then we want to